This is a music podcast where we discuss and debate album reviews, discographies, and have general music discussions. So, welcome. My name's Hattie. When you introduce yourself, guys.
I'm Jack.
I knew you were going to do it at the same time. I knew you were going to do it at the same time.
I waited for you. That's where that's where we fell down.
Okay. So
you go
first.
We
got Jack and we got Dennis.
That's the one.
I want him to say it.
It's always hard out of the gate. Right. So today we're going to discuss a album. We're going to review Megan Thee Stallion's Good News. So this is an album that's just came out. I believe it was released November the 20th. So we're just a few weeks ahead. It's her debut album, but she's been around for a few years. Released a couple of mixtapes, a couple of EPs. I think this year she's had, well, just from my perspective, she had like a lot of like songs that have kind of entered the consciousness a lot. Probably most people would be familiar with WAP with Cardi B, amid some others. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been generally aware and liked the things that I've heard, but I wouldn't say I've done much to delve into like a full project of material until doing this. I mean, I know when I suggested this to you guys, I don't think either of you were very aware at all. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I'd never heard of her.
Beyond, I'd heard one song on the radio, and it stuck out. What did you hear? The Girls in the Hood. I'd heard that on
off this album.
Yeah, I'd heard that on Radio 1 Extra, and absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
but I didn't know it was coming out on this album. I didn't even know. I didn't have time to like WhatsApp it because I missed like the introduction. But I was just like, "Oh man, that's fire! What is that?" Right. And then up until we did this album review, I absolutely had no idea. So I was glad to rediscover that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I only knew a handful of tracks. The one I knew off this album most would have been Savage, which I really loved. Obviously, we'll get into that, but that was kind of one of the main draws that I was kind of like excited to see what she would do on this album. Yeah, Jack, you ain't even heard WAP, Jack?
I'll tell you, I've seen the music video.
But,
yeah. In my gym, they do music videos and they don't have any sound playing. So I'd seen her name. But
I mean, to be honest, you don't need to listen to audio when you're watching that music video. Let's be real.
I'd also as well, is this version of Savage the well-known one that's been on radios and getting the high plays, or is this a redo of it? Like, is titled Remix?
Yeah. So it's I think because the remix is just basically with the Beyonce feature that wasn't on the original.
Was it a single originally?
Yes, I think so, but I'm pretty sure it was the remix that like propelled it to be more of a popular song.
Because I know that, obviously.
Yeah.
I've only heard the original. This is the first time I've heard the remix with Beyonce.
Okay, well that's cool. I mean, maybe we can discuss kind of the differences and whether that was a good addition or not. But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. So let's start by just getting your general thoughts. So just immediately, what you guys like it? Do you not like it? What do you feel?
I thought it was okay. I didn't love it, but I thought it was a good first album because it is a first album. I think Megan's only done EPs and singles before this, so this is the first like proper album.
I think it would be framing it in the context of it being like a mainstream major label debut, but she's definitely had projects.
Yeah, she's on Beyonce's label, I think, which is pretty big for her. One thing I would say, which is a big pull for this album, is just how southern it is, because I'm a big fan of the southern rap.
Yeah. For reference, she's from Houston, Texas, I believe.
Houston, Texas. Yeah. Beyonce's from Houston, Texas. I didn't know
that's
that.
The connection. Yeah, that's the.
Because she's got a single called Black Parade that she released, which was like a charity song. And the first verse of that is like, I'm going back to the South. I'm going back. And I was like, going back to the South? What's this about? I didn't know Beyonce was Southern, but yeah, she's from Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I guess she would reference it every now and then, but I wouldn't you wouldn't necessarily get that vibe.
She doesn't
straight
have the
away.
accent or anything. But this isn't a Beyonce review, is it? So.
No. But I think I agree with Megan. You kind of get that kind of immediate vibe from the accent and the style that she's definitely got that southern influence. Sorry, Jack.
I've had quite a roller coaster trying to see where I sit with this because at first I wasn't wild about it. Then I listened a bit more, got a bit of context as well, and like a few of the standout tracks started to carry it a bit more. But I've just now clicked on fans also like, and I've seen Bad Baby, but Bad Baby. Good to correctly pronounce her name.
Is this the Cash Me Outside girl?
Yeah. And I've just plummeted straight back down.
You've just soured this entire conversation within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that though, because like
bro, she has her album. Sorry, her album from 2 years ago. I'm still on Bad Baby. It's called 15. Is she 15 years old?
She's probably quite young.
She can't be.
She says some dumb grown up shit for a fucking she is broken as a human being.
17 apparently.
17 now. 17 yeah, so 2 years ago when her album came out, she was 15.
Yeah, that's mad. Dude, I feel like it's been like a decade since that original clip of her on fucking Jerry Springer came out.
Bro, it will never be long enough to wipe the stain.
Yeah. But okay, so I have to say in defense, when you're an artist that's as big as like Megan and is in the hip hop world, your correlations aren't going to necessarily be people that match your exact.
Oh, 100. Yeah, no, it means nothing. Yeah,
no. It's just going to be fans that like music of that popularity are also going to listen to some bullshit.
Yeah.
Obviously,
female hip hop artists, and then southern hip hop artists.
Well, not just that.
You've got a limited pool in the kind of mainstream world.
Not just that, but I think Megan sort of came up through like social media. She came up through like Instagram and all of that. And this Bahad Baby also came up through like memes and like through spreading through social media and that kind of thing. So it puts her in the same sort of the same sorts of people are looking at both of them, I think.
Yeah, well, that's a good point actually, because I definitely, like I said, I haven't seen much, but I knew that Megan kind of got a bit of hype from doing like freestyles and stuff. Like I guess like radio freestyles or like had her own YouTube and things like that. So it's definitely kind of like I guess she's had a modern journey of like coming into like the public conscious as opposed to like the traditional like getting signed and then working from there. So it's
which is a bit weird to think about, especially with the like the fact she's got the Biggie beat at the start of the album, then at the end of the album they got the Eazy-E beat.
Yeah.
You're like that's kind of she's harking back to the old school, and they're like like you're saying, like you freestyle on street corners until enough people hear you, and then someone picks you up.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the points I was going to make with regarding my kind of overall impression. So kind of, I guess I would probably say I'm the same as you guys, or similar in terms of it was a mixed bag for me, and I kind of warmed to certain tracks upon re-listens. Part of the thing that I enjoyed and kind of helped me kind of come back to the album and enjoy it was the production diversity. So kind of as Jack mentioned, you've got like your throwback old school samples, Eazy, Biggie beats, but then you've got the kind of modern dark trap sound, and then she's got some party tracks. So the production I found was really varied and helped with like replayability. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say as a general impression for me, it's I'm hot and cold.
Yeah, same here, to be honest.
It's not an album I would actively re-listen to the whole way through again out of the context of not doing this review.
I'm gonna get my soundbite in early. It's a 17-track album. If I could cut some tracks and rearrange the order of it, you've got a banging 10-track album here.
This is our rule.
Maybe 9 tracks.
Yeah, but so we would all, I'd probably say we would all agree then that it was kind of a mixed album, but there were a lot of tracks on there that we do like and would re-listen.
Not a lot, but there are a few.
Okay, a few, yeah. But as a whole album, it didn't work.
No, I've literally not had time to get any context with my listens. Literally zero. So hearing, 5 minutes ago that this is her first proper album after mixtapes.
Right.
A lot of what I was thinking before Doesn't change, but it puts a different color on it. So like it's for a debut kind of complete album where she's got to work with presumably more established production engineers and stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because your experience would have been the most like in a vacuum, I guess, right? You're purely going by the sound in the moment with your re-listens. For me, like I said, I wouldn't say I'm very knowledgeable about her, but I would have a bit more of the context. Same with the research Dennis has done. So we're going to be listening to it from different standpoints, which I think is always interesting. I mean, let's get into the stuff that we did like. So, what are the elements you guys liked? Kept coming back to. If there's any like particular tracks that worked well. What made them work well? I mean, what's your immediate thoughts on the positive stuff?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So,
Dennis?
The stuff that I did like was she is clearly a very talented rapper.
Yeah,
like she can definitely rap.
I wanted to get that out earlier because out straight away, because like I said, part of the impetus for me reviewing this is I kind of knew what I was going to expect in terms of the content and things that I disliked, but at the core of it, she's a fucking good rapper for like a mainstream rapper. She does not like compromise in terms of like having a great flow, great delivery, being super confident. She's got the skills. Obviously I'll let you get into it, but like the main draw is I know she can rap her ass off.
Definitely, she's got the skills, and I think that actually comes from from doing some background research. Her mother was a rapper as well. I don't think her mother ever got signed or anything, but I think she grew up like watching her mum rap, wanted to be like her mum, and getting influence. Her mum used to like play her like Pimp C and these old school Houston guys.
UGK.
Mike Jones, all these old school like guys from Houston, and from Dirty South as well. 3-6, those guys. So she came up probably listening to rap and has
probably rapping herself from a young age as well.
Exactly, yeah. And I think from the age of about 15, that's when she got serious about rapping. So she's probably been rapping from she's 25 now. So she's probably been rapping for 10 years, and that shows she's got skills.
This is a crazy thing now. We're thinking about this generation. Like rap has reached that age now. In terms of we'd say what as a genre, it's what like 40, 50 years at a push, like as a genre. So we're entering the first moment where like people will have parents that are rappers, right? It's only kind of going to be beginning now. We wouldn't be able to say it in the 90s, right? Because it was the start.
Yeah, exactly. That was like the golden age, and that's when things like really started to blow up. But that was like blazing the trail, really.
Yeah. Now it's like it's almost like second generation, like rappers.
You just made me think. Yeah, could you imagine being one of the Sugar Hill Gang's kids? Blasting Rappers Paradise every day.
Yeah, and they could be old ass men right now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that was like the 80s, the early 80s, maybe even before. Let me look it up.
It was the 70s, to be honest.
Sugar Hill Gang.
I'm thinking late
misspelled that horrendously.
1979 was Rapper's Delight, so early 80s.
Yeah, goddamn.
Yeah, and we could go to that as kind of almost like the origin song, right, of it. So we say 80s onwards. So now we're in what, the 40th year essentially from rap's origin.
Yeah. How crazy would it be if like Lil Wayne was one of the Sugar Hill Gang's kids or something?
Estranged. Yeah. But I mean, just to bring it back, I completely agree. I think even though I guess she's only been like as a rapper in the public consciousness for a couple of years, and this is like first debut, she sounds like a tenured rapper to me. And what I really love is she like no matter what the song is, she's able to deliver and match it. She switches flows between kind of being like slow and to like bouncy to like double time. I love that within the same song she'll switch from a double time flow to a regular time like constantly. She just effortless. Like it's just one of the best elements, like her as a rapper.
That's where I'll push back in that I'll say the skill is there, but the content isn't.
Oh yeah, I know. I agree. That's one of my biggest problems, and we'll get to that. What she's talking about does wear thin. I'm purely approaching it from a standpoint in terms of like delivery, confidence, flow, how she sounds effectively. Not the lyrical content or the themes. That's going to fall into the negative category.
Yeah.
Purely, it's the the cadence and the sound of her voice.
I think. Go ahead.
I think from my most common gripe with mainstream rappers is they have a flow that turns up in their first verse. Then they have a flow which turns up in their chorus. Then in their second verse, they go back to their first verse flow, and it's dead air for like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Then you hit the chorus again, and you're like, okay, it's more interesting because it's the chorus, but it's still the first chorus again. Then you get into the third verse, and they'll just do like first half of the first verse as normal. Second half, they'll just do like, instead of bubba da bubba da bubba da ba, they'll go bubba da bubba da ba. Bubba da bubba da ba, bubba da bubba da. You're like, it's basically the same thing. That was actually the most refreshing bit about this album, was hearing, you know, the different styles coming across, having that more kind of melodic singing style put in as well was really like refreshing. And like you're saying, she was able to switch it up depending what the beat she was working with sounded like, which made it like a much more impressive album than just someone coming out with, you know, a 10-track EP that's the same thing over and over.
Yeah. She's definitely versatile. I mean, you know, just sticking with the flow topic. I mean, the only track that I thought she picked the wrong flow for was the Scissor track. So I don't know if you guys can remember, on that track she had a double time, very fast flow, and a song. Scissor killed her bit.
I like that.
Yes, no, Scissor killed her bit. The beat was like a kind of West Coast beat, like a smooth beat, and she had a double time flow over it. I found that didn't fit that well. I would have preferred her to be a bit slower. But pretty much every other track, you know, excluding the sing, and every other track where she was rapping, she had the right flow for the right moment. That was the one track where I didn't think it fit.
I'm listening to it again now.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's got that sort of double time, but to me, that's sort of like a standard sort of southern rap drawl. That's something that I would expect to hear from someone coming out of Houston or from the South.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was not necessarily like the best choice you could have taken. But again, that's clutching at straws for me, because every other track where she, you know, changed it up, it felt like it was right. Like I said, that was just one that stood out. I mean, Jack, any more thoughts of you, the kind of general like positives, or would you kind of mirror what we think or we've discussed?
It reminded me that Who Shot You has got one of the best beats of all time. Just made me want to listen to Biggie again. And also,
it doesn't
like,
hold a candle to hit him up, but you know.
the level of artists who featured, like, knowing she's associated or signed with Beyonce or something like that, kind of not taints this, but, you know, puts a different color on it again. But the level of artist that she's got to feature is huge. Like SZA, 2 Chainz, Big Sean, Beyonce. I'm not mad about it, but Young Thug's fucking popular. So like that hitting that tier on your first big release,
yeah,
it shows people have got some faith in you.
Well, that actually kind of brings me to one of the more negative elements that I had with the album, in terms of I you know, the feature list was, you know, it was a lot of good high profile features. I found on the whole the features more like underdelivered or didn't fit for me than they did, especially regarding kind of the rapping features. So not everything, but again, and this is to Megan's credit, I thought she outshone pretty much all of the other rap features on this album. And again, just taking a look, I think the only people I thought hold their own on a rap level was the track with Big Sean and 2 Chainz.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
2 Chainz in particular. I mean, I've got some lyric quotes, but he had me in stitches, his verse. So, you know, that track was cool. I like the Young Thug track as well, but Young Thug kind of does this kind of singy rapping thing. He's not full on rapping, but DaBaby, Little Dirk, the City Girls, all of them, I was kind of like, the whole time I was just thinking, just get back to Megan.
Same. Yeah, she outshines on everyone except for that I prefer the Big Sean verse in Go Crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, they all did it. They all did their thing. 2 Chainz was just hilarious. He had so many like quotables that kind of stuck out upon re-listen. But yeah, I mean that was, like I said, one of the key things. I mean, in terms of, like I said, in terms of what I liked, you know, Megan, in terms of her delivery, the variety, the production, replayability. But yeah, should we get into the kind of the more negative elements? You guys get to move on.
Let's go for it. I think we've already touched on some of the negative elements.
Yeah. Well, so yeah. Argue your cases on my point. So, like I said, for me, the features were overall more of a miss than a hit.
I'm gonna jump in because I'm gonna side with you, but from a different angle. Give me Beyonce, SZA, 2 Chainz, Big Sean all day.
Yeah.
Sack off everyone else.
Yeah.
That came onto this album. I either don't know them, and like we were talking about with Gorillaz, I either don't know them and this feature did not make me want to listen to them, or I know of them and I know that I don't want to hear them.
Yeah.
Like, the people that I know to be good came on this album and killed it. The people I don't know or don't like, didn't do anything for me.
I mean, especially when I'm thinking, I mean, one of the standouts, well, the 2 standouts in terms of features that really didn't do anything for me. One was DaBaby on Cry Baby. I mean, I hated that beat.
I hated that track.
I knew it was like an experiment kind of type beat where they were trying to do something kind of off kilter, but it just missed. And again, Megan is good on that track, even though the beat was winding me up with the fucking baby sample. But DaBaby was just like, he was just a slurry mess. He didn't sound interested. Like, he was almost like sleepwalking through the track. And then when she comes in and she's enunciating and again she has a like confident flow, she just sounded so much better.
I also want to point out, this guy was previously known as Baby Jesus. Yeah, we need to start a rapper name Hall of Fame for just the worst fucking rap names going, because he's got 2 of them.
Yes, yeah, Baby Jesus is worse. He somehow got a little better, but only by like 1 point of a tier. Like, DaBaby is still pretty fucking
like,
awful.
if you want to carry part of that name forward, don't pick the baby part. Yeah, like, come on.
Yeah, no, his feature was not great. And again, when I'm viewing it in the context of how good Megan is, again from a delivery aspect, he just looked terrible. The other feature that really didn't do anything for me was the pop can feature on Intercourse. That was, I guess, more of a singing. I mean, here's the thing: I'm never going to fuck with like a dance hall type sound. So
I loved that beat.
Beat was sick. I fuck with dancehall. I'm into it, to be honest. So I didn't mind that. I did think the lyrics were disgusting though.
Yeah, well, so the beat, right? It sounded like a D tier Drake beat. It sounded like someone would give Drake a beat CD, and he'd be like, I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3. I know that you tried to get a sound for me with 4, but that's a leftover. That's the vibe I got for it.
But see, to me, that is Jamaican pop music. This is...
I have a personal bias against like dancehall. It's like very low in terms of sounds I want to hear. So that track was potentially one of my least favorites.
I think his vocal performance was terrible in like lyrical content to actual delivery, and the tone used, the auto tune on his voice, I hated. But like everything else about the track, I thought was really nice. That was actually one of the tracks that I gave multiple listens because I was like, I could like this, but the more I listened to it, just the more, oil and water the 2 parts of the song were.
Yeah. I want to get into another element that I dislike, and then I'll throw it open to you. But again, just to get your... Well, no, I want to get into 2 more elements that I dislike and see if you guys agree or have different opinions. So, again, while we're talking about the musical elements, the tracks where Megan was singing or primarily singing felt so forced and out of place. So specifically, I'm referring to Work That, Intercourse, and then the cream of the crop in terms of bad tracks with the singing, Don't Rock Me to Sleep.
I'm going to fight you on that one.
No, I'm sorry. That was hands down the worst track on the album.
What? Bro, you're just talking shit now because I've contested you. Do you think that's the worst track on this album?
Dude.
You think that's worse than either Baby track, Do It on the Tip, or Intercourse? You think it's worse?
Let me recount this for you. Blah, 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 lie, 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 da, na, 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 na. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
You're giving me one line to diss a whole track.
I guess all I'm saying is she's sounds so good as a rapper. Like I said, just consuming the sound of her voice and how she delivers it, that her trying to kind of sing and do these kind of more mellow, you know, alternatives. It just felt so forced, and it's kind of like she's wasting her good abilities in other aspects. And that's not to say I don't want an artist to like kind of experiment. It's just she did not do a good job with her as a singer. Like I said, leave it to SZA, leave it to Beyonce. You know, don't sing your hooks.
The way I saw this track, "Don't Rock Me to Sleep," was this was her pop synth attempt. And
it sounds like the label said you have to make a song like this. It didn't sound like the song she wanted to make.
Perhaps because in that sense, it does seem a bit forced. It seems like she's trying, but then again, you know, she comes from social media. She comes from trying to get followers. So I don't think she's beyond like she's beyond doing something just to get her name out there.
It's to be expected. But like I said, when the outcome is poor, and it, like I said, I got the vibe that she wasn't putting her best effort into it, which only made things worse. You know, it was a kind of sound I didn't like, and it kind of sounds like she was half-assing it again, because I'm thinking it was like pushed by the label as a track to include.
Do you
again? I have no idea. That's just my interpretation.
Yeah, that's the thing. You could interpret it as she was being asked to do something that she hadn't done before. Because if she comes from a rap background and she's more comfortable with rap, and then they tell her, okay, now sing.
It's like going out of her comfort zone.
Was it a single?
I don't think so. There's no music video for it.
Just taking a look. No. So the only singles were Girls in the Hood, Don't Stop, and Body. And Savage, I know, was released as a single way before the album. So yeah.
Because these days, I don't see a record label going, we need to have one of this type of song on an album unless they're going to release it as a single. Because it's not like now people are going out and like on the release day they're going to HMV and buying an album, coming home, listening to it, and then like putting all their shit up on thing. People are just going to pick the songs they like and the songs they don't like. So there's no point in them having a track like that unless they think it's going to have a benefit.
I agree. That's a good point. But to be fair, in the context of the album, it's still fresh. The album's like 2 weeks old. There's still time for it to be a late single. It's just not like a, what's it called?
Yeah, true.
You know, that release single or whatever the name is. You know,
I could see that.
I would expect it to come out as a single at some point.
Yeah, if they do drop it as a single, I could see that argument gains more weight. But
yeah, definitely the game has changed. You're not looking to get a track on the radio and get that some traction so that people can come and buy your album. Everybody's got Spotify now. They will just pick and choose.
It's a valuable point that you have made, Jack. But then I would also counter that and say, did you, when you were listening to that track, did you get the vibe that it's exactly what she wanted to do in the context of the other tracks that are on the album? Did it seem like a genuine, I want to make this track?
I mean, I didn't question it, to be honest. It didn't cross my mind.
You've got a bit more of a vacuum listen, so it's
I had no concept of her before listening to this. And it didn't seem out of place because, like we were saying earlier, there's such a diverse style of diverse mix of styles on this album, both in like what she's done vocally and in the music that's accompanying it. So it didn't stand out to me as something that was ludicrously like to one extreme or the other. And especially like is followed by Outside, which is another of the like softer tracks, and it's a mix of that kind of singing rapping combo.
I mean, like I said, it's not completely alien, but it just feels like a little bit of a left turn, and again just something that didn't hit for me.
Another thing that really didn't hit for me is whatever she's trying to do to like make her signature sound, that thing that she's
the ad lib. She does that.
God, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh, do you know what as well?
It's not the worst ad lib, but she does it too much. I
can picture every fucking advert of like a popular TikToker or something that comes up on YouTube or Instagram, and I'm looking through that, and if it's literally, you've done the face there, it's literally like
she does lean on it too much. She does lean on it too much. Well, let's
Also, sorry, one more thing. Where we're going, you just reminded me. Did whatever it is that she says as her hook, you know, where like hot girl shit or like
Yeah,
real hot girl shit.
Real hot girl shit.
Yeah, no, that's dead. Yeah. Kill that off. That's done. Like, you know what I mean? That's on a scale of 0 to just Blaze. That's like way down there. That's way down there. She needs to.
My scale goes from 0 to biddy bop bop. You know, B-double-E. That shit's fire.
I just want to say that the GOAT ad lib is Pusha T's
Yeah.
That's the best ad lib of all time. But the Just Blaze tag is the best producer tag of all time.
Yeah, no doubt.
The other thing I wanted to talk about while we're on negative elements, again, we brought it up briefly at the beginning, was that for such a talented rapper, the severe lack of content diversity. I am not mad at like her doing like some ratchet, like sex tracks with like, the type of bars that we're talking about, but like it felt like probably like 15 out of 17 of the tracks had the same content lyrically, and that was one of the biggest disappointment from like a rapper that I know is so talented.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up before we moved on, because same for me. Just how shallow the lyrical content was. You know what this?
Yeah, shallow is a good word. Yeah.
You know what this made me think? Like, look, if you're starting out like in rap, or if you're doing like battling, that kind of thing, you're going to be you're going to be bragging, you're going to be trying to diss people, you're going to be talking about your dick or whatever. She's talking about her pussy, but this isn't like deep stuff. But this was very much like that. It's rapping, sort of like standard, bog standard sort of rapping. Like, what can I talk about? How great I am.
She just seems too good for it. And again, I don't mean as in like, start talking about some like conscious shit. I'm just talking about having the variety in terms of like the musical variety is there, and her like ability to switch up how she sounds is there. It's just the context, the words on the page. That's the sore thumb amidst all the other kind of variety of elements.
Especially after we come off of the Tyler tier list, where like, I mean, he's got like some bragging tracks. He's got some tracks where he's blatantly just trying to
talking his shit.
Yeah, talking shit. But at the same time, he's also got like deep tracks. He's got tracks where he's like expressing himself. He's got but I didn't see that at all.
Exactly. And then when you've got like the kind of deep introspective tracks, when the I'm going to talk my shit, who that boy or whatever comes out, it sounds the more better for it, because you've got, like I said, you've got that yin and yang.
Yeah, it gives it depth.
The dark and light. So I kind of feel like you need that. I mean, Jack, would you agree, or did you find that the kind of content kind of fitted the music and it was okay for you? What's your thoughts on this?
I think it's again part of the like this being a full release for the first time, because if it's an EP of all that material, I like definitely she's got room to grow. She could definitely do with having more things to talk about. But I'm questioning, this is the beginning of her career. She's still really young. What else does she have to talk about that's kind of gonna sound legitimate and true?
Yeah.
It's like almost completely opposite of that. Like Tyler started from a really kind of
that's what I was gonna say.
The like opposite end of that, and has got more realer and realer as it's gone on. But I think there's no reason why she couldn't progress to doing that. But I agree that at the moment she's not ever really reaching that level of like realness with diversity that she could do.
On the topic of progression, I will also in that Breakfast Club interview, that she was on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne and the other Breakfast Club crew, and it's a great interview. But she talks about how she's going to school doing medical administration, something like that. So, like that said to me, like she's kind of
smart,
well, but she's also kind of a part-time rapper. So she's not devoting her she hasn't got all her eggs in one basket in the same way that Tyler did. Tyler was an artist, a musician. He was focused on creating, obviously, being called Tyler the Creator, but that was all that he was basically.
Right. He's
Whereas,
like, I'm going to be a rapper. That's it. I've got nothing else.
yeah. Whereas with Megan, it seems as though she's only doing it part time, and like she's being pulled in like different directions. And yeah, maybe once she's done with her degree, she can then focus all her energy on this.
Yeah.
And then progress.
Well, I definitely kind of feel like she's like self-aware, and I feel like she knows that. Well, I mean, this is just to quote a specific line that kind of makes me feel like she's like carefully like curating what she's putting. I think it was on Outside, on the hook. She's kind of like, she says like, "Oh, I'm gonna show this ass because this is what they want to see." Right. And it's just a basic like throwaway line, but kind of if you do think about it, it's kind of like a line like that kind of almost says to me that she knows that she's putting out content that's surface level, but that's because that's the expectation of someone that's making the music she does. I have my qualms with that because, like I said, I kind of feel like a lot of people are going to want hunger for those skills to be developed into kind of talking about different things. At the same time, probably the majority of the fan base are going to want more of these same songs. I guess it's just kind of like, can this shit continue for like 3, 5, 10 albums, without switching up? I mean, I'm sure she would, but I kind of feel like it needs to. But I think she is self-aware. I don't think she's doing it and not realizing what she's doing at any point.
Yeah, she's very aware. I think she's got a full-time stylist that goes with her everywhere, and hairdresser as well that goes with her everywhere. So she's very aware.
It's a curated image, yeah.
Yeah, she's very aware of that. But do you think, like, as a woman in the public eye, you have to have that? That's what I thought. Like, sort of looking into her, like, can you be taken seriously? For example, like Little Sims. I don't know if Little Sims
perfect example
goes around with a stylist.
Yeah,
and
but that's the exact thing. So I look at rappers like Little Sims. I look at rappers like Rhapsody, rappers like No Name. These are all female rappers that have a variety of talking points, and yes, they're not at the upper echelon of like mainstream, but I think these days there is a market for like women that want to explore different topics. And
can I ask you guys a question? As you know her work better, because you brought up Little Sims, I would say that Little Sims has probably become more commercial as she's gained success. In terms of like what she's addressing in her songs, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, I only know that her, was it Grey Area? Is it the most recent one? But that album is fucking sick.
It is, yeah. Little Sims is sick. But would you say that, like, from what you've heard before of Megan, or anything you've heard around this, do you think that this is like a standout? Do you think this is something where, going back to the company,
the surface level content
influence, is this her being coerced into making a more likely commercial hit?
I don't think it's coercion in terms of, if we're still talking about the kind of content, because I feel like my experience of her, the content's been the same. I think potentially the kind of the difference is that it being a major label debut the elements that would be more influenced is potentially the production or the producers that she worked with, and potentially some of the features. But in terms of what she's talking about, I don't think there's been much of a change. So it's just the issue I have is like, how long can you keep doing this and keep it fresh?
Not long.
We shall see. Yeah,
we'll see. Any more standout negatives for you guys? Any elements that really cheesed you off?
No, just the fact that it just doesn't feel as though she's rapping from the heart, and I think she still needs to find her voice, really.
The ordering of the album. Why? Like, let's get
into that. Go on.
I
didn't really think much, but
it's a rap album. Like, there's less of an expectation that it has to be ordered in a certain way. You can just have a collection of tracks and it works fine. But I think if you're going to release something that's 17 tracks long and has has so many different styles, but they fit in certain boxes, or even like within, you can make Venn diagrams and mind maps that connect them all, there's a way of ordering this album that takes you on a journey, whereas instead what you ended up with was an album that took you to a load of like train stations, and just between the tracks you were just driving to the next one, and then you got off and you had a look around that town, got to the next one, had a look around. There's a way of ordering this album. I haven't had a chance to think about it, but there's a way of ordering this album that you can even leave it the same. So you start with Shots Fired, and it's like this proclamation of rapping ability. You're almost kind of inherently comparing yourself to Biggie if you're going to spit over one of his beats. She's saying, I can do this. I'm a fucking rapper. Take me seriously. Then, you know, take it down after a couple of tracks of the hypeness, take it down for a bit of the beginning, middle, build your way back up again, end on some hype like she does with Girls in the Hood, Savage. That's fine. But the way that it is at the moment, it's almost like you've got your soft tracks in this hand and your hype tracks in this hand, and they're just chucked together.
I mean, the first two tracks is a very good example of your point, because you got Shots Fired effectively as you know, a diss track coming out the gates. I don't know if you guys know much context behind the beef with Tory Lanez, which is what the track's about. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, essentially it's a diss track, you know, borrowing the kind of the Biggie sample, "Who Shot You," right? And then that's, I guess it's one of the standout tracks in terms of what we're saying with content, in terms of she's not just kind of fitting that mold. She's actually talking about something that's current and relevant to her. And again, with the context of the track having like an old school sample, straight into Circles, which is like a party dance track, right? That's very surface level. And I really liked Circles. I thought it was well made, but it was a complete different kind of direction. So it's not like Jack said, it wasn't that smooth bridge between elements. It was just straight from, you know, one side of the spectrum to another in terms of content and sound. So I agree with that it could be a bit all over the place, but I didn't necessarily hate it myself, because again, that just added to the kind of diversity. You know, when I was getting, you know, track 1 to track 2 to track 3 all having kind of different kind of beats, it kind of I liked it. Like I said, it didn't have that continuity that I'd really enjoyed from like shorter albums, but it kept it fresh for kind of multiple listens.
But the tracks are short as well, but you shouldn't be saying, oh, it's a good thing that the tracks are short about an album.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, next I was going to say if there's anything we kind of wanted to discuss, if there was any other elements from the album that we wanted to talk out, you know, outside of the things, you know, obviously we'll get into our ranking, we'll get into like our favorite tracks, and, you know, maybe just a recap of the tracks that we really hated. But is there anything in the middle or any other elements that we wanted to discuss? Any lyrics that stood out for you guys? Anything like that?
Lyrics, I just kept thinking, to be honest, every time I listen to a song, is like, what is this song about? Because it's almost like the title of the song.
Get the same answer.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's all about, how good my pussy is and how good my body is, or etc. But it's like, for example, Circles. I mean, that title has almost no bearing to what the song is about to me. Cry Baby. I mean, Do It on the Tip, I suppose. That's pretty obvious.
But there's no reading between the lines of Do It on the Tip. That track tells you everything you need to know within 30 seconds, which is amusing.
But yeah, I just kept thinking, what is this song about? The title didn't help you at all.
No. Yeah, I mean, I've never really made the connection personally between like kind of wanting a title to match, you know, what the song's about.
It goes back to like the fact that her lyrical content is just kind of shallow in that you know, I was looking
like it's a
for
throwaway
something.
title. She's just like, I'll give it a title, fuck it, just get it out there.
Yeah, but you know, I was looking for something within the lyrics, and having not found anything within the lyrics, I then go back to the title, like, okay, so what's this song supposed to be about? And the title itself just doesn't make any sense.
Just because I've started looking at it as just while you've been talking with Circles, I was interested in that as well when I was looking through, because doing System last week, I was thinking Circles easily could be a System title. But at some point they talk about crop circles or some weird shit and like drop it in there. Apparently this is called Circles because of a Jasmine Sullivan song that's sampled in it called "Holding You Down," subtitle "Going in Circles." But yeah, like I was listening to it, expecting like that. That's where I noticed. We had the diss track, and I was like Circles, and that was the second where I was like, this like the lyrical content. I had an expectation from the title of some like existential shit going on.
I think you guys did yourself the disservice from trying to read too much into it, and I get it because obviously you're looking, especially what you were saying, Dennis. You're looking for that extra depth beyond the surface, but obviously then you're going to be disappointed that you don't necessarily get it.
Yeah, I guess it's personal taste. I expect some depth with my rap, but that's personal taste. Some people like gangster rap. If you're into gangster rap, this is this is you'll probably.
I would say even though like most, if we're talking classic gangster rap, like the early influence, like the stuff where you can still hear like the G-funk influence, even though it's like a more modern sound. That's got deeper, because at least then they're like, I've got a massive dick and I sell drugs, or like I've got a massive dick and like this is my crew and we run the streets. She literally was just like, I fuck people and I'm good at it.
Yeah. Although I was going to ask about that. I was going to ask whether we'd have the same discussion if it was like a guy. Like, would we be talking negatively about the same elements?
I think so, because going back to what Jack was saying about this being sort of her first like album effort with like a big
major
big
label
producers.
Backing.
This to me, I wouldn't be surprised if I got this off one of those like someone off the street selling their CD for like £5.
Wow.
Wow,
dude.
The lyrical content is like to that level.
Dude, that's cold.
I fucking remember those guys. They were never good. I kept hoping one day I was going to discover the next guy, but nah.
It's always like a guy who sort of was pretty good at freestyling in the park with his boys, and then tried to like produce a full album or something, and he's talking about the same stuff as if he was in the park with his boys. And this is the same sort of thing. She sort of comes from a sort of I don't know exactly if she comes from a freestyling sort of background, but it seems as though she's doing the same sort of freestyling stuff, not so much like crafting a song from concept and then fleshing out that concept, right? But more just rapping for the sake of rapping.
Right. Doing something in the moment, being like, oh yeah, that works on this track. Let's just lay that vocal down. Yeah, I get that. So I just wanted a few key things to kind of rattle off. Or I guess we kind of touched on a lot of things that I've got noted down. I was curious again, especially because it's a single. What did you guys? Because it wasn't one of my favorites or least favorites, but what did you guys think of Body?
Hated it.
This is one of my bad tracks we'll get to later.
Okay.
If I hear Body one more fucking time in my life, I might just vomit on the spot.
Okay. So you were hating that track, yeah? Both of you.
Literally that hook. I can't remember anything about that track except for the hook, and I know that I hated the hook.
See, I'm the opposite, because upon first listen I was like, man, this is annoying, but then I got into it with repeat listens. Even like the beat with the kind of like just like the porn sample or whatever. I don't know. It was just something that was like, I don't know, annoyingly like addictive to it.
That porn sample was one of the worst parts that I hate about it. I don't want to hear porn in a song all the way through.
See, my brain's been so tainted by that hook.
I don't want to hear a sex skit ever again.
Oh, dude, what fucking album? Keep going. I'll try.
Yeah, I'm thinking any Dr. Dre, classic Dr. Dre album, or like, that's something that needs to fade out of existence. But
Game's got one as well.
I knew this track would be polarizing for you guys, so that's why I wanted to ask, because it's I don't know, there's something about it that I kind of like. I like.
So you think you're gonna come back in 3 years and be like, oh man, I forgot about this track?
No.
The body.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if I do end up re-listening to this album again, I'm not skipping that track. I'm not skipping that track. Like I'm skipping Cry Baby. I'm skipping intercourse, but I'm not skipping Body, man. But I knew you guys would have a serious opinion either way. So I'm glad I asked.
It left such a bad impact on me that I literally didn't remember there was any kind of porn sounds in it at all.
Just like, from the chorus.
Yeah, it's like fucking PTSD. I've got post-traumatic song.
Would you guys, do you guys think it's better or worse than Cry Baby? Because like I said, that was a low point.
I would put it below Cry Baby, to be honest.
What? So did you also think that the beat on Cry Baby was better? Out of curiosity. With that that shit was trash.
I love that to begin with, though. I first heard the first 6 or 7 tracks maybe through speakers. I didn't get a chance to listen to the rest of it through speakers. Just these, but the start of that track, I was like, okay, you know, we've hit some levels on Shots Fired. We've had circles where I was like, yeah, it's bad. It's the second track. I'm reserving judgment. The start of that, and I was like, this is either going to be fire or it's going to absolutely plummet. The beat wasn't great in the end.
Right.
I don't think Body was worse than Cry Baby, but they're both pretty bad.
On the same level, then.
You know what was an awesome beat and one of my favorites. Just again looking through the track list. What's New? Also want to know what you guys thought of that. You know, it's the one was like da da da. What's new? Da 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 da. And there was the whistle in the background.
I want to know where that's from. So
it just worked so well.
You know, it's a track where they've got a whistle and it's like the.
Yeah, it was that. It was exactly that. Yeah.
And it has that over and over again. What is it?
Is it the whistle song?
I mean,
it's called the whistle song.
Purely by context, that sounds right.
Research right there.
No, it's I think it's Petey Pablo or someone literally called the whistle song.
Okay, I put the whistle song in and it's showing me Frankie Knuckles. Oh wait, you mean Santana?
Jules, there we go, bringing
Hey
Mama.
Yeah. I recognise that. And I was like, that's fucking.
Yeah.
They're doing bits. No, I love that. Yeah, what's new is one of my favorite tracks from the album. I also thought as well, this is something that
she was hard on that track as well. Her rap and her flow and everything was
yeah, definitely. This is something she's not necessarily a huge part of, but you know, depending how much she was in the studio when they were making the beats and like how much say she had in that side of things. One thing they do really nicely on this album is kind of pair what I would consider kind of more grimy and UK elements with their songs that are more on the trap side. So like when they go heavier with that US trap style, they also have a lot of bits of what would fit within grime or UK hip hop showing up there as well. I thought that beat is a really, really nice mix of both of them.
I agree.
Yeah, this was one of my top tracks for sure as well. And one of my top tracks that's actually like original, because my other top tracks, we'll get into it. I'll save that for a later discussion.
Well, I was just going to say as well, I guess before we move on, I've got a few lyrics that I wanted to just quote off that were either like I liked or were like bad or just funny. I don't know if you guys had anything, but there were a few things that stood out. Like I said, not necessarily for being like lyrical brilliance, but thought was amusing.
Couldn't pick anything out. I was on Genius, just frustrated.
So there was a line that again, just most of this shit just made me crack up on Sugar Baby. So one on Sugar Baby, she's like, invest in this pussy, boys, support black business. That was hilarious.
Okay. That was pretty sick.
That was fucking hilarious. Again, coming back to what we talked about earlier, 2 Chainz of Good Go Crazy had some of the best lines for me on the entire album. So one of his lines, he's like, I'm about to go ignorant, rich with the benefits, crook in my dick, shit looking like 10 to 6. My lord, that was one of the funniest lines. And then he's like still throwing bands during a pandemic. Dude, just fucking jokes.
There were a couple of lyrics that I meant to look up and prep for this. But yeah, like I said earlier, this has been one of the weeks I've been least prepped for in terms of shit they were doing. But she did have in Girls in the Hood. She's got a. Let me find it. She's got a. I'm gonna make him eat me out while I'm watching anime.
While I'm watching anime, yeah.
Pussy like a wild fox looking for a Sasuke.
Right.
Dropping in that fucking Naruto
reference,
all the
right?
weebs. Yeah.
Yeah,
I caught a couple like.
But that's another thing where you kind of like, oh, you know, it's almost like you get a glimpse beyond the surface level, even though it's kind of like a jokey bar, and it is like in the context of like a, I guess like a sex, it's like a sex bar, but like it's a bit different. You know, her being like, oh, I'm like going to drop an anime reference here. It's just that little bit different where you're like, I wanted a bit more, you know, a bit more of that.
Yeah, I wish she threw in a bit more of her own sort of originality.
Yeah, it's just like a little bit of flavor, something that's left field that you wouldn't get from another like rapper that's making the same type of music. I just wanted a bit more elements of that, of like kind of like tongue in cheek.
I hope we get more of that, because she's so big. I mean, she's blown up. Savage was huge. I think even Girls in the Hood was pretty big. I mean, I loved it when I heard it. I've heard it played on the radio a few times. So she's blowing up right now. So I wonder if she will go down that originality route, or that she'll go down the pop route. She'll go down the route of, let me keep my fan base happy. Let me keep making pop music. Let me keep making controversial songs.
She's doing quite well on balancing the two, I think, because she's you know, her rapping sounds great, and the production is like, you know, fairly mainstream. So I think she's found that good balance. It's literally just the content where it could be one or two ways. It either could be the same shit and it would wane on me, and I'm gonna get to the point where I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to anything more. Or she could again diversify and kind of experiment more, hopefully. And she'd go from being someone I have a vague attention of to being like someone I'd be like, oh, I'm interested to hear what you're going to make next. You know, it could go either way for me depending on that content.
Yeah. I mean, who was it? Was it you, Hattie, that was saying like you spend your whole life making your first album, and then you spend up until the next album.
Yeah, to make the next one. Yeah. But I mean, again, we're talking in the context of her debut as in like, oh, she's just come out. She's been releasing projects and stuff for quite a while now. It's literally just I think the difference is that it's like the I guess the mainstream level, and you know, having like the money behind it. But
so got that Queen Bee money.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, are there any other? You know, before we move on to rankings, which I think we should do, like overall rankings, are there any other tracks or elements that, like I said, you guys weren't so hot or so cold on, but you thought might have been interesting to discuss? Anything else stood out for you guys?
I'm surprised actually we haven't discussed Girls in the Hood yet, because that was just the shit. You know, that fucking Eazy-E, that Eazy-E beat coming back. I mean, that's what hooked me. But we can go into that once we do our.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, in terms of the album having like sonic versatility, I like the tracks having like, you know, like throwback samples. You know, it made re-listening to the album as a whole better. But they weren't necessarily standout tracks. Even like Shots Fired. I didn't like I said, it was a diss track, but it wouldn't rank up there as one of like, you know, one of the best diss tracks for me. And I don't know. It's the tracks that stood out for me were the ones that had more modern production. I wasn't mad at the kind of sample based tracks, but
I would say Crybaby is fairly modern. That's sort of that mumble rap sort of newer production style.
Yeah. No, sorry. I didn't mean that I preferred all of the more modern tracks. I mean, as in my favorites were tracks that had like a more modern style production. Like, you know, I mean, one that we haven't touched on, but I do actually want to get your opinion from. One of my favorites that had probably the wildest beat was "Don't Stop," the last track we did, Young Thug. I fucking loved that beat, man. It was just so like fucking grainy and like metallic and synthetic, and it just worked so well. Like and you know, Megan was great as usual. even though I'm not like really a Young Thug fan, I thought he was really good on the track. So I thought all the elements came together on that track really well. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think the beat outshone anything that was put on it, personally. Yeah. But I also hated.
It was one of the best beats on the album, I think.
I hated it coming at the end of the album, and especially after Girls in the Hood. Like, I feel like it would have been so much nicer.
Yeah.
Because you've started with Shots Fired, you end with Savage, which is like hype, obviously the single. Don't Stop, which is like just hype and like, yeah, like you're saying, like quite grainy and like dirty and powerful. Then you end with Girls in the Hood. Then you've got that nice like book ending of the classic shit, and then in the middle you've got all the modern elements.
Right. So you'd group the different production together, you know, as in like modern and classic. You'd put it all in one go.
Yeah, maybe like along those lines. But I feel like there's just loads of little tricks like that they overlooked.
Yeah, it did feel weird. I know what you mean in terms of like the old school tracks is like right at the beginning, right at the end, right? So it did seem weird, but
yeah, this should have gone somewhere in the middle. It shouldn't have been at the end. They should have put one of the poppier songs like Circles. Circles should have been here, because once it gets sorry. Well, I was going to say because once you get to the end, I found like once I got to the end, I was even skipping that track sometimes.
Yeah,
it just falls through the cracks.
Yeah, I mean, I was even going to say Savage, man. I would have put that earlier because that track was another fucking highlight, and having that same as what you're saying at the end. You know, say if you're weary with some of the middle tracks, it's a pain having to wait to get to such like a huge track.
Yeah,
right at the end, it seemed weird.
I thought Beyonce way outshone her just because I haven't heard Beyonce go hard on any track aside from Black Parade. Black Parade's the other track.
She could make a rap album, right? She was actually, obviously she was killing it singing, but she was spitting bars. Like again, another quotable line from that when let me find it. But it was just a line where I was like, talk your shit, talk your fucking shit.
Okay, well, shit.
Yeah, when she's like, oh, if you don't jump to put jeans on, you don't feel my pain. I was like, that's a bar. That's a fucking bar.
She hits as well because that beat's got like it's not completely dissonant, but it's got implied dissonances with the like because of the way the sound they've chosen to make the little plinks, the little boom, boom, because they're not sustained as stuff. You don't.
A 3-chord stab thing. It's really simple, but I know what you mean. It's quite there is a dissonant level to it. Yeah.
Beyonce hits the fucking harmonies on top of that to add like the implication, but make it explicit. Yeah, like obviously she rapped really well as well, but I just wanted to get in. She fucking killed the singing. Feature as well.
I don't think there was a bad element on that track. Like I said, the beat, it was simple but good. Beyonce killed it singing, rapping. Megan killed it rapping. They worked well together as well. It was kind of a track where, a lot of times like Megan would be like rapping and Beyonce would sing or do ad libs underneath, and I love that shit. I'm never looking forward to a track where it's like, oh, you do verse 1, I do verse 2, and we're almost like separate. This track, it felt like they were kind of like fused together as one piece.
And it worked in this case.
Yeah, and they had the chemistry, which I can't say for like say again going back to like the DaBaby track. There's just no chemistry, no continuity there between Megan.
Another one you brought up with the scissor, where you said like her flow wasn't quite.
Yeah, it didn't work for me. But that's the thing. That was what was so annoying about that, because I loved SZA's hook and loved the beat. So that was probably potentially the one track where I thought Megan was the weak part.
Freaky Girls.
Yeah, SZA killed that shit. Like SZA and Beyonce were like the stand-up features. Maybe 2 Chainz as well for me, but
big ups to Big Sean as well on that Go Crazy track as well. To be honest,
yeah,
in my opinion.
They all did well. It was good. It was good as well to have 3 rappers that had very like contrasting styles in terms of how they sound and how they deliver. So
on that Go Crazy track,
yes, yeah. Obviously, Megan had the really kind of brash, delivery, and then Big Sean was just very smooth and like monotone, not in a bad way. And then 2 Chainz, is kind of like all over the place, kind of almost like he's just like cracking jokes. I thought it worked really well, like the three of them together, even though their approaches were different.
Fair play. To be honest with you, I don't really rate 2 Chains. I've hardly listened to any 2 Chains at all.
Yeah, no, me neither.
So I didn't even hear that verse. I didn't. I was literally probably thinking like, who's this guy at the end of this track?
I think with 2 Chains is I like occasionally heard him like do features, and it's always like, oh yeah, for me it was always like, oh, that's a good feature, or like he said some shit that was funny, but he's not necessarily going to be like, oh, I'm going to listen to a 2 Chains record, Don't think that idea would come to mind anytime soon. But when he's there, I'm not mad.
Right, people rate everything. I suppose you can find someone who'll like anything.
I can't believe we didn't come up earlier. We'll do it because 2 Chains also got 2 Chains. He's up there with Just Blaze, man. You need a simple, you need a shouting, and your second one needs to go up from the first, and then that's a fucking hit for a hook with me.
You've discovered the formula.
That's it.
Right, okay, let's I think we should, like I said, wrap it up with our rankings, and then again we'll just summarize a couple of our best tracks, a couple of tracks we hated. I mean, we've already touched upon it, but let's just bookend it with that, just so people know what to listen to and what to avoid in our opinions. Unless you guys have anything else more to say before we do the general.
I'll just wrap it up.
Yeah, we wrap it up. Okay, Dennis. Actually, before we go ahead, so for listeners that have already seen our stuff, we're now adopting our tier list ranking for our review ranking. And we've changed it up a bit. I don't know if Jack, can you load the graphic for that?
Yeah, we on it.
Yeah, cool. So cool. So I'll take you through the tiers here. So it's a 6-point scale that we're going to use going forward. We've got GOAT as the best tier, so this is going to be an album that's like an instant classic to us. Tier 2 is Fire Emoji. So again, a fucking great album, but with a few elements that could be changed to bring it up. We've got Pat on the Back tier, which all of our previous albums have fitted into. So this is a general consensus from our 3 rankings. But Pat on the Back, it's a good album, but it's nothing that blows you away. Next tier, we've got a Scratch CD. This is just, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you're done with it. You can chuck it away at any point. And then we've got Participation Ribbon as our second to last tier. Again, it's thanks for taking part, but bye, bitch. And then lastly, you got Trash tier. So again, this is just something that's like unlistenable. There's no redeeming quality to us. So so that's our rankings. So let's see, Dennis, what is your ranking for this album? Where are you putting this?
I would put this in Scratch CD. The only reason why I don't put this in Participation Ribbon is because there's a few tracks on here which are pretty good that bring it up to Scratch CD. So yeah, I thought the rapping was great. I love Southern rap in general. I love her Southern drawl. She can also she shows she can flow in a variety of different ways. I mean, some of top 3 tracks. Girls in the Hood, love that beat. Love the way she remixed the Boys in the Hood, Eazy-E, into made it her own thing. Savage, mostly because of Beyonce going hard on it.
Yeah.
And What's New, which is I thought was great in that. Okay, Savage, Girls in the Hood. Savage is a bit like, oh, it's a remix of a song she's already done, and she's brought a celebrity in. That's probably going to bring it up anyway. Girls in the Hood, she's obviously rehashing an old beat. So
yeah,
What's New is like an original song. I thought this was one of her best original songs that she's sort of come up with, and her flow on this is amazing.
Yes, yeah. One of the best flows and best beats. Yeah, categorically. Yeah. No, that's a good selection actually. That's probably the best selection so far if I'm going to review your top 3. I'm going to say that's a pretty good one. Okay, so before we move on to Jack, just as a recap, can I also get a couple of tracks that you would say were the lowest moments of the album? It doesn't necessarily have to be 3, but just a couple that stood out as like you never want to listen to this again, if anything fit into that category.
Yeah, there were only 2 that I really could not stand. Number one was Body. Hated the chorus.
Man!
Hated that chorus.
You're shit out of luck because that's a single, so you're probably going to hear that at some point.
It is a single. I was on Genius looking at the lyrics, and I was like, "This has been searched 356,000 times. Why the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then, obviously, went on YouTube and found that she'd made a video of it. So yeah, of course, people are looking at it. I hated that porn was going on in the background. Just throws me off, you know.
Yeah.
That's just that's one of the least necessary geniusings of a song I've ever heard of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could probably say this about a lot of tracks. Yeah. I really want to know the meaning behind do it on the dick. What are they saying to me? What are the city girls saying?
What's the deeper meaning?
What's your other Never Listen Again track then?
Sugar Baby. Just because that beat was just terrible from the beginning to the end. Just because it just sounded like somebody had just slapped it together in 5 minutes and just like, okay, yeah, there you go. It doesn't evolve. It doesn't change. It's the same thing from beginning to end.
Yeah. That's the one with the kind of squarey thing. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah,
that's the one.
I didn't hate that. I know that the synth does sound kind of like cheap, and it isn't. It's definitely not a track that stands out. But like, I'm quite surprised.
And the synth, what I hated about it was the synth hits you from the first beat. From the first beat of the song, it's just din din din, and it's like, oh, okay, we're in this shit now, and it's just the same thing throughout the.
Right.
I had two very clear, distinct mental images when I heard this. It was one, it sounded like some like 1990s PS1 boss battle game music. But two, it sounded like you're not at the very, very top of boxing, but you're like a mid-range boxer. This is your entrance music.
Yeah. Anyway, it is. My thoughts are, and again, I didn't hate the track, but my thoughts are, you're like a fairly new music producer. You've downloaded a shit ton of like synth packs. You've opened the first one that looks good, and you've been like, preset 1, and it's this. And it happens to be okay because it's a preset, in my opinion, but you've done nothing to like customize that. That's my very specific analogy.
That hits the nail on the head, I think.
Okay, that's good. So scratch CD, we've got your best, we've got your worst. That's cool. Like I said, there's no fiery take that I've heard in there personally. So well done, Dennis. Jack. Same thing. Let's get your overall ranking, 3 best tracks, and then a couple of never listen agains.
I thought I was going to have to fight you guys on this, but I put it scratch CD as well. Okay. I think overall it's not a great album. I think there's a great album hidden in there, but it's not. Well, I think there's a quite good album hidden in there.
Right.
I think
if it was trimmed.
Yeah, if it was shorter.
Yeah.
And had more developed and varied lyrical content as well as the beats, yeah, it'd be a good album.
It's only 49 minutes, so it's already pretty short as it is.
Well, that's the thing. The tracks don't really last that long on the whole, right? But
if you got more shit to talk about, you can rap for more than 2 minutes. Would be my answer to that.
Yeah, that's the problem. You don't sit with the tracks.
Yeah, no, I agree. You can't have 17 tracks of just like sex bars. And make it a replayable album.
So for me, Freaky Girls is a standout. I thought SZA fucking killed it.
Yeah, she did kill it.
This was the first time as well when, like, on the album, I don't know if it's the first time it actually happens. Yeah. So like, this is the first time where I was like, oh shit. There's a softer side. It's not all like this in your face. I'm a fucking, I'm a prize. Try and fuck me kind of shit.
And I was going to ask as well, again, like I said, just because it was a point of contention for me, you also were a fan of Megan's double time flow in that song.
Yeah, not to the point where like I'd pick it as a hill to die on. To fight you about it now, but I thought it fitted well as well. Yeah, I didn't hate it.
No, all good. Yeah, I like that track.
Watch New as well, like Dennis said, absolute fucking beast. The the beats got all of those grimy elements that I was talking about before, mixed in with what otherwise would be a trap thing, and it's got the fucking whistles from Jules Santana, which I couldn't place, but I remembered loving from back in the fucking early noughties. It's just a piece of a track, like everything Dennis said, plus one for me. And then I liked Outside as well. There were other tracks I would probably like as much, but I wanted to pick something that was a standout on the album, not just something that I liked. And a lot of the other tracks that I liked, they had the elements, like you could pick Savage, but everyone's going to know Savage, and you could pick Girls in the Hood. You could pick Shots Fired, but at a certain point, you're hitting like a very common denominator of what the lyrical content and the lyrical delivery is to match those beats. So that's my reasoning for picking Outside, is that it's something slightly outside of that box.
You've made that she's still hit it. Choices,
yeah. I've been listening to Dennis too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get into it with mine, but now I'm looking at it. The fact that neither of you put Savage there is quite.
I feel like Savage kind of sits by itself because it's such a unquantifiable success as a track. Like there's almost no point putting it in a
separate
top
to the
3.
album.
Yeah,
in your headspace. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I think both decent picks from both of you so far.
For the bad, yeah. Body, obviously, Body. Like, just get the fuck out of here. What were they thinking? That's the worst chorus I've heard for years. Intercourse, repetitive. The flows are probably more basic than on the rest of the album, which is disappointment. Right. The feature auto-tune was weak as fuck. Like, I know it fits the style, but it's never something that I really, really enjoy about listening to dancehall. And I feel like the vocal performance from both people kind of let the beat down a bit.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. This is coming from someone that would appreciate a bit of dancehall, right?
Yeah.
Which would be, I would be the complete opposite. But that's interesting that track had that kind of those elements, a lot, and you just didn't think it was a good.
I think this is something that is getting more common with hip hop artists, definitely in the last like decade or so, where they'll have like a dancehall track or a more like Caribbean influenced section of their album, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah,
sometimes it's sick, sometimes it just falls flat.
I think it's definitely like Drake doing it all the time, and then other artists being like,
I think Rihanna as well.
I want to have a Drake song. Yeah, good point.
Hitting the mainstream. I think that was a big turning point for it. Yeah. But I'd also like to check out both baby songs and Do It on the Tip for my negative points of this album before we move on from it. I can't say it.
For me, I didn't include Do It on the Tip as one of my worst. It's not going to stand out, but it was Do It on the Tip was almost like so ridiculous and on the nose that I'm kind of like, it almost became good because of how bad it was. Do you know what I mean? Like when that happened. It's almost like this is a parody song. I'm actually enjoying listening to how ridiculous it is.
Like I didn't mind that at all.
Like the mid-career Eminem. Where you're like, he knows what's going on, you know what's going on, you just agree to meet in the middle.
Everyone's playing their part.
Yeah.
Is that like when he was doing songs like Ass Like That?
Yeah.
Right, the encore era. A hot take, actually, Encore is not as bad of an album as people think. I think there's a lot of
I don't hate it. Especially compared to what came next.
Yes, for me, it's nowhere near the first 3 albums, which are like, at least 1 or 2 are classics. But it's not. He definitely got worse. A lot of people tend to think of Encore as the worst, but I disagree.
No,
it does have some trash.
Relapse. I think the amount of good tracks. No, the amount of bad tracks on Encore is the amount of good tracks on his albums going forward from there.
Yeah,
and it's the minority. So yeah.
We'll for viewers, we will save that for our future Eminem tier list, which is probably going to be in 3 years' time. But look out for that.
I feel like that's an easier one to prepare than Kanye, though. Like, just get 2 buckets, a good and bad.
Right. Any other bad ones, or are those the ones that stood out for you?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, that's cool. I'm like I said, I'm quite impressed with your guys' selection now. Apart from Body, but I get it. I get why it would annoy you. Cool. So in terms of mine, I'm gonna go in the same boat as you guys and say it's a scratch CD for me. And it does pain me in ways to say that because, like I said, I really think Megan's a fucking good rapper. But like I said, it's knowing that potential and talent that she's got that kind of feel like she's not utilizing it as well as she could be. This may change in the future. It may not, but I'm really hoping it will. Enjoyed most of the production. You know, there were just some features and some beats that just missed, especially when Megan's singing. As I mentioned, it's just a miss for me on this album. So yeah, it's a scratch CD. I'm not going to listen to the album as a whole again, but there are tracks that I think I would return to. In terms of best 3 tracks, What's New as well. So that's the one I'm going to share with you guys. Like I said, one of the hardest beats. Her flow is sick. You know, I love that hook. You know, with the same thing with the whistle. It's just great. It's just great, and a great track for showing her like versatility in terms of mixing up flows as well. My second favorite track would be, well, no, not second in order, but second in my list of 3 would be Savage. Like I said, I just love every element. You know, beat, Beyonce singing, rapping, the chemistry between them is just fucking good. A standout track for me. And then my third favorite would be Don't Stop with Young Thug. Again, I just love how kind of like out there the beat is. Again, Megan's kind of switching up her flow a lot, and I like the Young Thug feature. So, but yeah, this could be interchangeable with some of the tracks on there. What is not interchangeable is the tracks that I didn't like, and I have 3 as well. So I don't really need to see much more, but Cry Baby, get the fuck out of here. The baby, you know, the beat, get the fuck out of here. I never want to hear that shit again. It's just an awkward song on an album that should not be awkward. Second word, another track I really hated was Intercourse. Again, I've mentioned it. I don't like dancehall. Popcan was trash here and like took over the song. Like I said, it was like a Drake B side, a Drake C side. And yeah, again, a track where Megan's just singing and does not do it well. Third track that I hated was Don't Rock Me to Sleep. Yeah, like I said, this track was the worst track on the album for me, and I know that pissed you guys off, but again, it just feels like something that the label forced on her. She's unemotive. You know, the hook is so grating. The hook to me is like what you guys got from Body. That's how I feel. So yeah, I never want to hear that shit again, and I hope she doesn't do anything like that again until she kind of learns how to, like, you know, make a good singing track. Because, you know, like I said, I do want her to experiment, but just not like this. Not like this.
I don't want to. Sorry to interrupt you. Anything?
No, it's fine.
I just, because you just got me thinking. Then, and I looked up the lyrics. This is probably her biggest departure from the usual lyrical content.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like that thing where, like, you know, you get some rappers' albums where, like, they have 2 styles. They have the I'm the fucking shit or the you're fucking shit, and you get like one of those 2 things. This is almost she's got I'm a fucking catch, I'm the fucking one you want, and this is like I don't fucking want you. Like, we broke up. There's like this is probably one of the few examples of her other side.
Yeah, I get that it's her kind of being like, kind of showing you like a sensitive side or whatever, which does stand out. I guess for me, it's just more in terms of like the production and the delivery. You know, the aspects that normally I think she's so good at, she was bad at here. You know, I agree. It's good to get a bit more of her. It's purely just the performance, the beat that just didn't work for me. But chuck it in scratch CD. I'm right there with you guys. It was an easy, you know, album with tracks that were really good but did not work as a whole album. So
on what you're saying, Jack, the tone of this, you know what this reminded me of was Hate It or Love It by 50 Cent of The Game, which is very much like that. You know, like The Game, like gangster rapper, 50 Cent, more gangster rapper, but Hate It or Love It is this kind of emotional sort of song, and it's got this kind of same sort of beat.
Yeah, he's like growing up. My mama kissing a girl, like 50 Cent kind of taking into his personal life. Yeah, which you'd never got. Yeah.
And I know that the producer from Hate It or Love It did a song on this album. Now I can't remember which one he actually. Let me pull up the credits here.
That song is a fucking classic, man.
That is an absolute classic.
Wasn't it fucking Dre and whoever he made that album with?
Oh yeah, Cool and Dre.
Yeah.
They did produce.
No, but Cool and Dre aren't. Dre in Cool and Dre isn't Dr. Dre.
Is it not?
No.
I've been fucking lied to. What the fuck?
Oh, they produced Circles. They didn't produce this song.
You've just blown my mind.
I can see that.
Yeah. There was one song in here where I was like, yeah, I can hear that. I can hear that influence in there somewhere.
Can I just say one thing again? Not to distract it too much, but just because we raised it, the game has a fucking underrated discography.
100%.
Real talk.
And he, when he wants to, he can rap his ass off.
Yeah, is it the documentary? His album.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude,
he's got 2.5, 3.
Yeah, but all of the documentaries are fucking good.
Yeah,
and his second album as well, that I forget the name of. But yeah, he's got a good discography.
Absolutely.
Much better than 50, to be honest.
Underrated.
Someone
we went to school with actually met the game.
No way.
Yeah, he was coming through, and I think she messaged him on Instagram or something, and she ended up getting invited to meet him and shit.
Linked up.
Yeah,
that's fucking sick.
Yeah, tell us afterwards. Yeah. That's mad. Okay, let's wrap up the review. So it was, I guess it was interesting. I guess we were on the same page for most of the elements, I think, which is interesting. But yeah, a definitive scratch CD this time.
Yeah,
no arguments.
There's a lot of potential though. It feels a bit harsh to have everything else back pat. But I wouldn't say there's too huge a difference between them. But it's like there's a couple of things that need ironing out, and then she could be a top tier.
Well, that's it. We're reviewing an album, aren't we? It's easy to get attached to the tracks you really like, but it's got to be in the context of the whole project. And I don't think it's an unfair ranking because let's be honest, none of us enjoyed this whole project, right? So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm happy putting it in Scratch CD because if I go back to the last album we did, which was the Gorillaz Song Machine Season 1. It was quite hard to pick like a top 3 in that, and there were tracks that were coming in and out of being top 3, whereas I didn't have any trouble picking a top 3 with this.
Shit, that fucking end track with Skepta, could you imagine a genuine or Kano? Could you imagine a Kano or a fucking Skepta feature on this album?
That would be
good to get that crossover.
Yeah, with like more of those grimy beats that you were saying.
Yeah. I think that styles would go really well together.
Don't Stop.
Yeah.
And a UK feature on a Don't Stop. Woo!
God damn.
Yeah. If Kano was on that would have saved that.
Mate, drop Kano on one of the... Drop Kano into Circles. Get some real shit going. Drop Kano into fucking...
one of the more R&B singy songs.
Yeah, like Outside, Don't Rock Me.
Yeah, if you did what they basically did all through the 2000s, where you'd have like a pop singer and then like a rap feature.
yeah. You give him second or third verse.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we let's end it? We're on an hour and a half.
Cool.
Cool.
Peace.
Right. Laters.